My husband ruined our wedding day, and this story has haunted me for over a decade. It's been 11 years, and I've held on to this, but today I want to share it. Maybe it'll help someone, or maybe I'll just delete it later, but for now, here it goes. I've been seeing so many TikTok videos with women admitting they realized on their wedding day they'd made a mistake. The sheer number of these stories is overwhelming, and I think it's worth normalizing this kind of honesty. This is my attempt at doing that, and maybe a little therapy for myself, too. Before we dive in, I'll say this. At the time, I had no concept of things like love bombing, gaslighting, or psychological abuse. Those terms weren't even in my vocabulary back then. If they were, this might have gone differently, but here's what happened. I never wanted a big traditional wedding. The idea of walking down an aisle with all eyes on me made me uncomfortable. So my now ex-husband and I agreed to keep it simple. We'd only been dating for 4 months and decided to get married at the magistrate. It was quick, intimate, and low-key, exactly what I thought I wanted. The ceremony started off fine, the judge performed his duties, and I was feeling genuinely happy. Everything seemed good. Then, about a minute after we said I do, the judge made a casual, lighthearted comment. He said, "I love doing these ceremonies. It would make me so happy if you came back in 10 years and let me know how things turned out." I smiled and responded, "We'd love to. Hopefully I can still fit it in the same dress." It was meant to be a playful little joke, something people often say when they're excited and looking ahead to the future, but what my husband said next changed everything. Without missing a beat, he replied, "Or smaller." Let me tell you, that moment felt like a punch to the gut. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I froze completely. My brain struggled to process what he just said. Here I was, married for all of 70 seconds, and the man I just vowed to spend the rest of my life with had already managed to make me feel inadequate. I stood there, stunned, dying a little inside. My heart broke. I couldn't even move, couldn't breathe. I stared at him, searching his face for any sign that he might have been joking, but this wasn't as cruel as it sounded. But there was nothing. No smirk, no laughter, just a cold, matter-of-fact expression. I glanced at the judge, hoping for some kind of validation that I wasn't overreacting. The magistrate's jaw nearly hit the floor. He looked at my husband and said, "Son, you just got married." That was the first moment I realized I wasn't crazy. My intuition wasn't wrong. This wasn't just bad, it was very bad. I stayed. That's a whole other story, tied up in years of psychological abuse and gaslighting. He made me believe I was the problem, that I was dramatic, overreacting, or even imagining things. Over time, I came to understand that none of those things were true. I'm not dramatic or crazy. The saddest irony of it all, 10 years later, almost to the week, he told me he wanted a divorce. The promise to return to the magistrate and show him our life had turned out well, that crumbled into dust, just like everything else. Looking back, I realize now that he never truly loved me. Maybe he didn't even like me. From the very beginning, there were signs I ignored or didn't know how to interpret. That comment on our wedding day was the first crack in the foundation, but I brushed it off because I wanted to believe in us. For anyone out there questioning their gut feelings or wondering if they're crazy, trust yourself. Your intuition knows what's up, even when your heart wants to deny it. I hope sharing this helps someone.